Hello everyone, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We're from group 2 and in here we will present about cultural relativism and ethnocentrism. This is our member. Okay, next, what is the cultural relativism? Cultural relativism is the view that all beliefs, customs, and ethics are relative to each person depending on their own social context. In other words, right and wrong are culture-specific. That means only applies to certain people in certain cultures. What is considered moral in one society may be considered immoral in another, so this view assumes that there is no universal standard of morality. No one has the right to judge the customs of other peoples. They are all considered to have the same value. Cultural diversity, even cultures with conflicting moral beliefs, seldom be understood from a right, wrong, or good-bad perspective. Anthropologists today consider all culture an expression of human exchange that have the same weight of values. All cultures must be studied from a completely neutral perspective. And then, relationship between cultural relativism and cultural ethics. Cultural relativism is closely related to ethical relativism, which views truth as a variable and not absolute. Right and wrong are determined solely by individuals or society, because truth is not objective. There is no objective standard that applies to all cultures. No one can say someone is right or wrong. It's just someone's personal opinion. One society cannot be compared with another. And then, why is it important to recognize cultural relativism? By acknowledging cultural relativism, we can recognize that our culture shapes what we consider like beautiful, ugly, attractive, virtuous, funny, and repulsive. This shapes what we think of as good and bad art. What we think of as tasteful or tacky considered goods, like music and movies. It varies not only in terms of national culture but within a like society such as the United States and also by culture and subculture. Organized by class, race, sexuality, religion, and ethnicity, and etc. And then the next material will be presented by my friend Bastian.
Okay, I will continue the next material from Fadli. The next material is ethnocentrism. Ethnocentrism is the term that anthropologists use to describe the opinion that one's own way of life is natural or correct. Some will simply call it as cultural ignorance. Ethnocentrism means that one way see his or her own culture as the correct way or their own living. For those who haven't experienced other cultures in that can be said to be ethnocentric, if they feel that their lives are the most natural way of living. Some cultures may be similar or could be overlapped in ideas or concepts. However, some people are in a sense shocked to experience differences that they may encounter with individuals culturally different than themselves. In extreme cases, a group of individuals may see another culture's way of life and consider it to be wrong, and because of this, the group might try to convert the other groups to their own ways of living. Fearful war and genocide could be the devastating result if a group is unwilling to change their ways of living. The next one is the causes of ethnocentrism. The first one is history. The group's past history could turn into an identity for themselves. This makes the individual or the group feel that they have their own culture and history. These various identities, namely in the form of language, habits, to past events that come from their own ancestors. The second one is nation plurality. The exact example of this nation is Indonesia. Indonesia has many tribes, races, religions, and groups. With the condition of this pluralistic nation, it could often triggers and given rise toward many conflicts. That can be happen because each religion, ethnicity, race, and group will always try to strive each other in order to gain power by controlling the others. And the third one is political. When an individual or group wants to achieve a legitimate power, it will usually arise by itself through a feeling of fanaticism towards the identity attached to them. This is because politics is often to be seen as the right place to launch personal and group interests. And the next one is the impacts of ethnocentrism. There are two different impacts of ethnocentrism, the positive ones and the negative ones. The positive impacts of ethnocentrism are 1. Could maintain the authenticity and integrity of a culture. And 2. Could increase the attitude of patriotism or loyalty to the nation and be and be proud of their own national culture. And the third one is could strengthen the sense of love for the cultural heritage of their own ancestors. And the negative impacts of ethnocentrism are 1. Could cause conflicts between different tribes because each one prides itself on its own culture without respecting the other cultures. 2. Could hide political flaw in the nation's culture. And 3. Could inhibit the process of assimilation or blending of existing cultures and cannot develop their own culture in accordance with the development of modern periods. And the next one is the examples of ethnocentrism. An example of ethnocentrism in culture is the Asian cultures across all the countries of Asia. Throughout Asia, the way of eating is to use chopsticks with every meal. These people may find it unnecessary to find that people in other societies, such as the American society, in American society, they eat using forks, spoons, knives, and etc. Since these countries use chopsticks to eat every meal, they find it foolish for other cultures to not use utensils similar to chopsticks. However, they do accept the fact that they use different utensils for eating. This example is not that something could be categorized as an extreme one, and that could lead to genocide or war. But it is a large enough gap between these cultures for people to see their way of eating as the natural or the best way to typically eat their food. And another example of ethnocentrism is colonialism. Colonialism can be defined as cultural domination with enforced social changes. Colonialism refers to the social system in which the political conquest by one society of another leads into cultural domination with enforced social changes. A good example of a good example to look at when examining colonialism is the British that overtakes of India. The British had little understanding of the culture in India, which created a lot of problems and unrest during their rule.
Okay, we move here. This is an example as well as an explanation about difference between cultural relativism and ethnocentrism. Sushi. Why did I choose sushi? Because from my point of view, sushi is disgusting food. Moreover, I don't like raw food, like this one. Let me think about the different ways in which you can reach. All of the ways you can reach is to say, oh my god, this is disgusting. What is this? I don't want anything to do with this. All of the other things we can say, you know what? I can see why she likes this. It might not be for me, but I can see why she likes it. We are actually again assessing and judging our friend's culture, but from a different viewpoint, meaning we are judging and understanding their culture. These different cultural perspectives actually have their own terms. So one term that I want, if we're going to judge another person's culture for our own culture and really say things like, this is disgusting, what we are doing we're becoming ethnocentric. On the opposite side, as we start to look at the food or any other culture, even from other culture, even from a perspective of the other person's culture. So cultural relativism means is that there is no right, absolute right or wrong, but we have different culture. Okay, that's all our presentation. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.